What is going on, closers and sales warriors? Dominic Caminata here, Grosso University, on another beautiful warrior and wisdom walk. Look at how beautiful and blue that sky is. Absolutely gorgeous today. It's the month of November, which means I turned 40 in just a few weeks. And as I said in my first warrior wisdom walk, there's no way I'm going into my 40s soft. So I'm definitely keeping the warrior wisdom walks going so I can continue to challenge myself in new and exciting ways. And I'm really excited for this topic. This is for all you sales warriors out there that want to learn how to execute what we call the velvet hammer sales approach. And we call this a velvet hammer because, of course, if you're a sales warrior, you're going into every house with the goal in mind that you're going to earn that homeowner's business. And I mean earn it. They're not going to give it to you. You're going to earn their business on that first visit, right? And I like to go into a house with a buy or die mentality. I'm going to throw away the wishbone and grow back home. Obviously, timid salespeople should have skinny children. But you also want to do it in a way where you're not creating any pressure. So one thing Rick Grosso used to teach and preach that I firmly believe is high pressure sales is nothing more than lack of technique. If you are trying to strong arm somebody into something they don't want to do, or pressure them or push them to make a decision, I don't care if you're doing it on the first visit, the second visit, the third visit, you are a high pressure salesperson. So one of the sales tactics that we train out of Grosso University that is very powerful for keeping the pressure off and executing the velvet hammer sales approach is called a takeaway. And I just want to talk about what a takeaway is and how this is a simple strategy all your sales warriors can begin implementing right away to help you close more sales and do it in a way where you're not coming off as pushy, aggressive, or high pressure. Okay? So now a takeaway I like to think of as a pressure release valve. So anytime you get an objection, I want to take it away and release any pressure associated with that objection so we can all stay comfortable and relaxed. Because one thing you've heard me say in previous warrior wisdom walks is you cannot close somebody unless they are comfortable and relaxed. Well, a lot of times salespeople fall into the trap of becoming what I call machine gun closers, where they turn into Rambo at the negotiating tables and close after close after close, and there's no proper pacing. They're not controlling their tonality, and they're not using any takeaways to diffuse the pressure. Inevitably, pressure ends up building at the negotiating table and reaches its breaking point, and to the point where the homeowner's kicked into fight or flight and they shut down. So what exactly is a takeaway? As with a lot of things in life, sometimes the best way to explain something is to frame it in the form of a story. So I want to share a story about a salesperson that I rode with that executed on accident one of the greatest takeaways of all time. So I was riding along with this new salesperson. They came fresh out of training. And I always love that moment, by the way, when a sales rep goes through the training for the first time and they get out there to start running leads independently for the first time. And they're fired with enthusiasm. They're super excited, obviously nervous, but they have a different level of energy and excitement about them. It's like there's a whole different level of aura and energy and motion when they walk into the house. And this salesperson in particular, I was highly impressed with. For their first few appointments, this guy was really on point with delivering the masterful presentation. In this specific appointment I'm talking about, the homeowner was absolutely loving it. There's a lot of energy. There's a lot of passion. Doing a really great job demoing our product, and this is on a window lead. And I could tell there was a lot of trust there. I mean, everything was just really falling into place for the sales encounter. And then, of course, the salesperson gets to the closing sequence where the rubber meets the road. This is the make or break moment, right? And the salesperson does a decent price delivery. And after the salesperson delivers the price, the homeowner says, we need to think about it. And actually, sorry, this is a single lady. So she said, I need to think about it. And I was waiting to see how the salesperson was going to handle it. And to my surprise, the salesperson did an incredible takeaway. The salesperson replied to the I got to think about it with, no problem, Mrs. Jones. That's why we guarantee the price for 30 days. So you can take as much time as you need. I'm like really proud. I'm like, wow, that was a really great takeaway, because that's one of the things we train on in our sales process, especially at the retail price or full list MSRP. When you get an objection, the best thing to do is ignore it, do a powerful takeaway, and then continue on through the closing sequence, because you want to keep them comfortable and relaxed. So then the salesperson executed another brilliant takeaway. he asked Mrs. Jones, "Do you have any other questions for me before I leave?" I'm like, holy cow, this new sales warrior is really laying on this takeaway thick. He must really be certain that he wants her to be comfortable before he continues the closing sequence. And of course, because he said that and she thinks that he's leaving, she's super nice. She's like, "No, you did such a great job. I really enjoyed the whole experience. I just need a few days and I'll call you back." He's like, "Great. I really appreciate your time. I appreciate your endurance. Here's my card. Why don't you go ahead and give me a call when you're ready? And I just want to confirm anything else I can do for you before we pack up our stuff and take it out." I'm like, wow, this guy is kind of overdoing the technique now, because one thing else to train on is you can overuse any technique. And she's like, "No, we are all set." So the salesperson stands up, shakes her hand, and says, "Thank you for your time, Mrs. Jones. I'll be looking forward to your call when you're ready, and you have a nice day." So now I'm starting to get worried. I'm like, so this salesperson delivered price, got one objection, and he's already shaking her hand, packing up his shit and leaving. I'm like, well, maybe this is just part of his sales strategy. So I just went along with it. Again, one thing that I always try to do when I'm riding along with salespeople is I try to zip the lip and keep my mouth shut. Because the goal is to get the best representation of exactly what's going to happen when you're not there. So I just went along with it. So he started packing up his stuff. I started helping him pack up his stuff. And we took his samples out to his car. We throw the stuff in the trunk. And again, I'm still thinking, maybe there's some weird strategy that the salesperson has. I'm just going to go along with it. But he packs the stuff in his car. He gets in the driver's seat, so I follow suit, get in the passenger seat. And then the salesperson starts his car and starts backing away. I'm like, okay, now I know the salesperson literally got one objection and he's actually packing it up and leaving. This is a problem, okay? So let the salesperson drive about a few houses down. And then I politely asked the salesperson if he could pull over. So I said, "If you don't mind, could you pull the car over real quick? I just want to talk about that appointment." He's like, "You want me to pull over now?" I'm like, "Yeah, just pull the car over for a second. I got a question for you." So he pulled the car over and I talked to the salesperson. Apologize, there's a dog barking here. Let's just take a minute. Oh, beautiful dog. Hi, puppy dog. How you doing? So we end up having a debriefing session. Of course, we're pulled over. So I just asked the salesperson, I'm like, "What the hell happened back there?" And he's like, "Well, what do you mean?" I'm like, "Well, you delivered the total investment. You got one objection. And you just packed it up and left. You didn't attempt to even go into financial terms. There was no ROI. There was no qualification, no major close, no sub-step closing, nothing." All the things that we trained on in terms of the roadmap to the close was completely missing. What happened? He's like, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry. I was just so nervous when you were sitting there. I completely went blank. I forgot everything that I was supposed to be doing." I said, "Don't worry, relax, take a deep breath. The good news is you just did one of the greatest takeaways of all time, because I guarantee you that the prospect is not thinking about the fact that she's going to get closed right now." She's completely comfortable, relaxed. So the good news is, if you go back there, knock on the door and let her know that, "Hey, I apologize. I completely forgot to make you aware of the promotion we have going on right now. If you could give me just one more minute of your time, I'd love to explain how you could qualify for that." So anyway, long story short, we end up driving back to the customer's house. The salesperson knocks on the door, knock, knock, knock. The homeowner answers the door. She's completely comfortable. She's not as soon as she's about to get closed. And the salesperson said what I told him to say. He's like, "I apologize, Mrs. Jones. I completely forgot we have a special promotion going on right now, and I wanted to make sure you were aware of it so you can make an informed decision on the project." And of course, she was like, "Absolutely, come back in. No problem at all." So he gets to the kitchen table, talks about the special promotion, how we can earn her business, save her a little bit of money. It's a win-win. And the only question she had was, "Can I put $1,000 down?" So now, I'm not condoning that these salespeople leave the house and drive away before they come back and try to earn everyone's business. But the moral of that story is, a lot of times, if you do a strong takeaway and you get that homeowner completely comfortable and relaxed, then you're in a position where you can come back in and consummate that sale and earn their business without building any pressure whatsoever. And there's a couple lines in that little story that I like to share that really allowed that salesperson to keep the pressure off. So of course he delivered the retail investment and the homeowner gave him an objection. And he replied with a powerful takeaway. No problem, I understand. That's why we guarantee the investment for 30 days. How's it going? And then, so that was a powerful takeaway, because at your retail MSRP, they technically do have 30 days to think about it. So if you can remind them of that, that's a powerful way to keep them comfortable and relaxed. And then there's takeaways embedded into our closing sequence, where we literally say, do you have any questions before I leave? And it says statement, any questions before I leave, or the homeowners think that you're leaving, that ends up being a powerful takeaway to keep that pressure off, keep them comfortable and relaxed. And then you can come back in and continue navigating the closing sequence. Sometimes I would do a really powerful takeaway where I'd be deeper into closing and the homeowner would say something like, you know, it's just a lot more than we can afford right now, or it's just too big of a decision. We're just gonna need some time to process this and think about it. We'll be getting back to you. And then one of the takeaways I would use is, no problem, John and Mary. Let me just finish filling out the agreement so you have something to look back on when I leave, so you know what we talked about. And part of the takeaway would be slowly and surely filling out the agreement. And after a little bit of silence, after they got some time to relax, calm their nerves, we'd come back in and strike a conversation and get back into the closing sequence. And actually had a scenario where one of my salespeople did that agreement takeaway where he said, let me just finish filling out the agreement. That way you have something to look at before or when I leave. And the customer at that moment got up, went into the living room, and went into his favorite rocking chair and lit a cigarette and started rocking back and forth, smoking a cigarette, okay? And you know that's that customer calming their nerves. They're obviously getting their fix. They needed that cigarette because of the cigarette addiction, nicotine, that dose of nicotine. So after about 2 minutes of that homeowner sitting in the rocking chair, smoking a cigarette, he turns back to the salesperson and says, how much was that monthly investment again? And the salesperson replies, well, about $175 a month. He's like, write it up, I'll do it. And the good news is, because the salesperson was writing up the agreement, it was almost completed. So there's a lot of examples, and you can use takeaways even throughout the master presentation. Sometimes you get objections thrown at you where the homeowner tries to throw you off. They'll say something like, you know, we don't need all this sales stuff, we just need a price. An example of a takeaway, taking the objection away, would be, I completely understand, John and Mary. I'll tell you what, let me give you the Reader's Digest version. I'll breeze through this and I'll have the total investment worked up in just a few moments. That's an example of a takeaway. So they threw an objection at me. I'm going to take it away and diffuse the pressure, right? And there's a lot of examples of this. Again, early in the sales encounter, part of a takeaway is also being able to ignore objections. We have all kinds of training on that. But I just wanted to share this story that too many salespeople, when they get hit with an objection, they immediately try to go into solve mode. And when you aggressively try to solve the objection immediately without taking it away and using this sales tactic, you can come off as high pressure and confrontational. Because when the homeowner objects, they're preparing for and bracing for the fact that they're going to get an argument from the salesperson. So if you don't use takeaways, you just get right into solving, you're kind of fulfilling that expectation in their mind. You're going to start arguing with them. And that's what causes their fight or flight reaction to occur. And they end up shutting down on you. And then it's almost impossible to come back in and earn their business. So if you want a lot more training on the subject, of course, we got a wealth of information on the art of using takeaways in the sales encounter. But I hope this inspired you sales warriors to really level up in these little areas. It's these little things that can make all the difference. When you master the art of using takeaways throughout the sales encounter, you can close them for seemingly unlimited amounts of time, keep them comfortable and relaxed, keep the pressure off, so you can earn the business with prospects that a lot of amateur salespeople would not be able to. So I appreciate your time in this Warrior Wisdom Walk. If you like the content, make sure you like and subscribe. Start using takeaways in your next sales encounter, and you too can be a top performer in your chosen profession. So I appreciate your time, and on behalf of Grosso University, yes, you are closing.